Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for coming out to this next series of speakers. My name is Spencer Cradian, and I am Associate Director of the 2025 Presidential Transition Project, or Project 2025. We are organized by the Heritage Foundation and include 90-plus partner organizations, including Students for Life, Alliance Defending Freedom, Susan B. Anthony, so many great pro-life and pro-family groups that are here today. And what we're doing is getting ready for the next conservative president. You know, throughout our institutions, we see how the left, how forces that support abortion are in control of corporate America, of our universities, of our whole academic institutions. And it's especially true in Washington, D.C., which is hostile to pro-life, pro-family values, and to conservative values. And so what we're doing at Project 2025 is uniting the movement and doing as much of the next president's work, hopefully, ahead of time, so that the president who will take office a year from today is ready to go on day one and has the right pro-family, pro-life, conservative policies to take our country forward. And so whether you like politics or don't like politics, I encourage everybody to sign up at project2025.org and spread the word about the work that we're doing and get involved. I have the pleasure of introducing the next three speakers on the topic of making abortion unthinkable. The first is my colleague at the Heritage Foundation, Robert Rector. Then we're going to have Jessica Andre from Pro-Love Ministries, and then Kate Maloney from the Campaign for Abortion-Free Cities. So again, thank you all for coming out to this, and I now turn it over to my colleague at the Heritage Foundation, Robert Rector. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to talk to you about something that is very important. You will never have heard about it before, I think, and you will probably never hear about it again. But it is the social foundations of abortion and their relationship to the government and the government welfare state. And hopefully, after I explain this to you, it will all seem pretty self-evident. But I'll start out by saying we can all recognize that 86% of abortions in the United States occur to non-married women, okay? And then the next step in that normal paradigm is that there's kind of a seesaw. On one hand, you have non-marital births. On the other hand, you have non-marital abortions. This is the bulk of abortions. And one would think, well, if abortions go up, then non-marital births will go down. Seesaw, right? Abortions up, non-marital births. Everybody knows this, right? I get edited to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about because this is what happens, you know? And then if non-marital abortions go down, non-marital births should go up, right? And this was actually the rationale, if you're old enough to remember when Roe v. Wade was introduced, which I unfortunately am well old enough to remember that the way they rationalized this was, well, we have all these problematic births, which are births outside of marriage, and they cause crime and poverty and all social problems associated with them, and we're going to have abortions. And so when we have more abortions with Roe v. Wade, all of those non-marital births are going to go down, and all of those social problems will go down with them. See? We solved it. Isn't that good? But you know what? That's not what happened. We had Roe v. Wade come in, and obviously abortions go up, annual abortions go up by about 1 million. Does this go down? No, it goes up by about 1 million together. They both go up together. Oh my goodness. Complete violation of what's supposed to happen. Janet Yellen, current Biden Secretary of Treasury, actually wrote about this, and then everybody forgot about that paper because it creates problems, right? Roe v. Wade caused a massive increase both in abortions and in non-marital births together. And then we have a converse example. It's called welfare reform. Now, I did a lot of welfare reform, so I'm highly biased. And usually I talk about this for about 90 minutes, but I'll see if I can bring it down just a tiny bit. Well, what was welfare reform? Welfare reform started with Ronald Reagan Some of you may remember who he was. And through his career, he talked about needing to take the welfare state, which is almost overwhelmingly single mothers, and they should be required to work, or they should be required to do something to become more self-sufficient. And Reagan said that all the time when he was president, and the Democrats just ignored him. But one Democrat that didn't ignore him was the governor of Arkansas, Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton took all of those Reagan ideas, put them into rhetoric, and ran for president on them. He ran for president on the theme of ending the welfare state. And he said, you're not going to be able to live on welfare forever. Everyone needs to work to support this. Everyone heard this, including all potential welfare recipients, went through the whole country. Now, Clinton gets elected on that theme, and the Democrats in the House and Senate say, are you kidding? No, we're not doing anything like that. But he had talked about it, continued to talk about it, and was unable to act on it. Because he was unable to act on that promise of ending welfare, the Democrats lost the House of Representatives to Newt Gingrich in 1994, and the Republicans came in and said, ending welfare, okay. So I call a shotgun marriage between reality and rhetoric all of a sudden. And they did the things that Clinton talked about, and we're going to put time limits on welfare, 2 years. We're going to make everybody on welfare has to work or prepare for work. Now, the rhetoric is a lot stronger than the actual reality, but it was, wow, it sounded really vigorous. And now according to our seesaw, we just made it much, much more difficult to be a single mother on welfare, and most non-marital births end up with the mothers on welfare. So that should have caused the non-marital birth rate to go down, but the abortion rate should have skyrocketed upward, right? No. They both came down together. What in the world is going on? And to understand what's going on, you have to look at the pivot in the seesaw. That is the non-marital pregnancy rate. When Roe v. Wade comes in, the non-marital pregnancy rate, the pivot spikes up by about 1.5 million additional pregnancies every year among non-married women. And half of those pregnancies are going to be abortions, half of them are going to be non-marital births. Welfare reform came in, and it's like, holy cow, I'm not going to have a lifetime on welfare anymore, which was a big thing in low-income communities, and that pregnancy rate stops growing and begins to fall. And when that does, both the abortions and the non-marital births fell together. A win-win situation. Now, how does that apply more broadly? If I could give it a clear example of this, if I could get the chart up here. Is the chart up? No chart? Got the chart? Okay, all right. Okay. So this chart, which I hope, you can see this. This is the teen non-marital birth rate. The red line in particular, that's the number of non-marital births to women 15 to 19 year by year. And the green and yellow lines, that's welfare reform. The red line vertically, that's the beginning of the war on poverty. And what you see there is the teen birth rate had exploded 400% since the beginning of the war on poverty. Looks like a mountain going upward, okay? And if you were around at this time, everybody said, oh my God, this is a disaster. Even the Washington Post said this is a real disaster. They called it babies having babies. But there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we could do about it. Well, along comes welfare reform there, and you know what? Gee, that line seems to change. In fact, it seems to go in exactly the opposite direction. As soon as welfare reform came in, this teen non-marital birth rate drops like a stone, along with all kinds of other indicators, and it's now back to about where it was when Lyndon Johnson announced the war on poverty. At the peak of that, at the beginning of welfare reform, 1 in 10 children in the United States was born to an unmarried teen mother. Absolute disaster in every respect. That problem, you don't hear about it anymore because it's largely disappeared. And it disappeared with the changes of welfare reform, of saying, you're not going to get to live on welfare. We will give you some support, but this is not an outcome we want. Now, when I show this chart to people who are pro-life, they say, oh yes, but that line went down. How many of those were abortions? And the answer is almost none. okay? If you look at this chart here, the green line at the beginning, that's in the early 90s. Those are the non-marital births. The red line are the non-marital abortions for teens. Then the second set of charts is roughly today. You can see the non-marital teen births are way down the green line, but the red line has dropped even more. So there's exactly what I said. When you do this change, you have the blue line, which is the pregnancies, comes down dramatically because you have put in an element of self-control or restraint. I've got to be more careful about what I'm doing in life. I have to have some future orientation. The births come down, the abortions come down even more as a result of that. And this is very important because marriage is like a universal social antibiotic. Any problem that you can think about is reduced by having this old thing called a father in the home. It's weird, I know that sounds really, really retro, okay, boomer, but it happens to be true. And we look at this chart here, this is the percentage of children living in married two-parent homes. We start out there, I think, in the early 60s, and it's going down and down and down. More and more children, year after year, are living without a married father in the home. Then the yellow line is, yes, welfare reform, where we suddenly say we're not going to subsidize, we're not going to have the welfare state come in and be as an aggressive substitute for that father anymore, and we stop that, and the line almost flattens out. If this change had not occurred with welfare reform, there would be today an additional 10 million children living without the father in the home that currently have a father in the home because of the social change that you see in that chart initiated by welfare reform. That's roughly 1 child in every 15 in the United States. In addition, the abortion rate goes down because the non-marital pregnancy rate goes down. And in the papers that we've given you and my papers online, I show that the number of abortions that went down as a result of the stabilization and decline of the non-marital pregnancy rate following welfare reform to today is 10 million abortions fewer. 10 million fewer abortions. And no one has ever heard of this effect, right? And so what this means is that the normal paradigm that we work with in the pro-life community is like a pregnant girl inside a pregnancy, pro-life pregnancy prevention or abortion prevention center, right? And this is a choice where, oh, she's pregnant and now she's either going to have a birth or abortion. We want to reduce the abortion, we want to increase. But what I'm saying is the way to really understand this is to back way up, way back the train to where that non-pregnancy, why that non-marital pregnancy occurred in the first place, and to the social trends that generate millions and millions of those. Welfare reform dramatically dropped that trend rate. And it did, and in doing that, it reduces the number of abortions dramatically, but it also reduces the number of non-marital births. Now, I'm not saying that we have solved everything. When the war on poverty began under Lyndon Johnson, 7% of all births were outside of marriage. Today, that number is around 40%, but it hasn't really gone up for 3 decades. It was going up like a rocket before. We've at least leveled it out. And that's an enormous positive thing. Budget Republicans, oh, we save money on welfare. I don't care about that. That is an enormous improvement in the lives of kids, of women and dads, okay? Now, what ties into that? I'm going to tie this into fentanyl. Now you say, how in the heck is he going to do that? Okay, oh, come on, But wait, so here's the situation. The way welfare used to work is that essentially welfare rewards a woman for not being married and for living without the husband in the home, or at least hiding him, okay? That's the way she gets food stamps and housing and AFDC, and that's mainly the way she gets EITC and things like that. You want to keep the husband off the books because if he's on the books, his income gets counted, your welfare benefits go down. This is how, and this was not an accident for the left. The left basically designed the welfare state so that the government could serve as a substitute for that evil thing, the patriarchal male, okay? We needed to get the patriarchal male out of the household, okay? And they said this, it's like, we are going to free women from the patriarchy, which means you're going to free them from the fathers of their children, okay? The welfare state is designed to do that, but if you make the welfare state less attractive, all of a sudden that doesn't happen as much. You don't have as much disintegration. Now, how does that relate? Well, historically, when you look at fentanyl deaths, who dies from fentanyl overdoses? Is it women? Elderly people? No, it's men, young men who are not married. Married men do not die from fentanyl overdoses, who have low and moderate levels of education. It's exactly the type of person that the welfare state that drove him out of the home and brought welfare in to serve as his substitute. And when we do that, we've robbed that young man of his reason in life. I'm an old guy, so I grew up with lots of these men, and all of those men, this sort of man, a guy that had just a high school degree or maybe went to community college they all got married, they all had kids, they all had thriving lives, and it gives them a reason to be. The welfare state drove them out of the home because they're financially punished, and it robbed them of their reason to be. That's where all the fentanyl deaths come from. So what can we do? The good news here, I'm saying, is that reducing abortion and increasing marriage go together, okay? If we think about that correctly. So what would be the stages that we could do that in order to reduce marriage? Well, first, we want to simply limit abortion. If you limit abortion, it actually has some pro-marriage effect, that you can see that with the Hyde Amendment when it comes in. But the next things are, how do we strengthen marriage? Well, the first thing, in the welfare state, we spend about $1 trillion a year all on programs that penalize mothers and fathers if they get married. We should reduce those marriage penalties. Secondly, we should do what we did back in welfare reform, which is to put work requirements on all the welfare, which are basically go to single mothers. There are very, very few married couples that ever get much of anything in welfare because they don't need it. But then finally, we can do the thing that sort of Bill Clinton did accidentally, which is to basically communicate that being married is important. I would like to go into every low-income high school and middle school in the United States and say, not me, not a guy, an old guy in a tie, okay, but someone that they might listen to that would say something like the following. And if you go into a school like that, you'll say, how many of you in here want to have children? These are very pro-child populations. All in the hands will go up, particularly in a black school. How many of you want your child to be poor? No hands are going to go up. And then you just say the following thing. How many of you understand that the number one factor for reducing child poverty rhymes with the word carriage and starts with the letter M? And they will say, what? No, what are you talking about? But that's actually a factual statement. Marriage is the number one weapon for reducing child poverty. Mayor Bloomberg, when he was mayor in New York, actually put that statement on the buses going around the city. And the left went out of their minds with rage. They don't want people to hear that. But what we can do by teaching, for example, the success sequence, which is to have a stable relationship, finish high school, get a job, get married, then have a child. But the key factor there is get married. Find a guy that you can make a commitment with, you can envision a future life with. All problems go down dramatically when you do that. The left absolutely does not want that taught anywhere in the United States because their goal is to wage war on capitalism and the patriarchy, which they also call capital patriarchy, have a word for it, And the welfare state is to be a weapon designed in doing that. We want to de-weaponize the welfare state, not do away with it in any sense, but to make it more controlled, more constrained, more marriage-friendly. We should not be saying to a couple where the father makes $20,000 and the mother makes $20,000, if you get married, we're going to take $10,000 of welfare benefits away from you. But that's the way the system works. We scale that back, and at the same time, we teach them what's normal for upper middle-class families, which is this is the success sequence. It doesn't have to be taught because that's what they see all around them. But if you're in a lower income or lower working class community, the success sequence is not there, okay? Bring the success sequence back, teach it to them because they're not hostile to it. Poor young women are not charter members of National Organization of Women or anything good. That shows how old I am. But they're not. They're not radical leftists, okay? They are, in fact, want to have children. They want their children to succeed. They're not hostile to marriage. It's just marriage is kind of the way we might view a trip to Paris or something. It's kind of outside of their horizons. Tell them that's not true. Bring that in. If we do that, poverty will go down. Crime will go down dramatically because crime is the result of not having fathers in the homes and communities. Every other social problem like fentanyl, I could go through a list of 100, will go down, and abortion will go down, and we'll live in a better society. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Thanks for sticking with us on a long day. I know you all have gotten a lot of great information. And I'm here, I'm so thankful to be here with all of you, especially our youth. You are brave, bold warriors for the kingdom of love and life. And I'm so honored to be here before you today. I joined Pro-Love Ministries last year after a long career in the insurance industry, and I am all in on what we are doing and where we are going. So I'm, again, grateful to be here with you as we do this kingdom work together. As the Director of Operations for Pro-Love Ministries, which was founded by Abby Johnson, we have a mission to fill gaps in the pro-life movement. So we are an umbrella organization that houses pro-life projects and affiliates with others that align with our mission. So we want to ensure that no one falls through the gaps in care. And we do that, there we go. By no one, we mean women, pregnant women, mothering women, their children, families. Empowering women is at the heart of what we do because we know we must love and serve the women in order to protect and care for the children. Our motive is love because we know that it is love, God's perfect love, that casts out fear, which has a firm grasp on so many in our culture today. We come against that fear and come alongside these women to help them. We empower women, we don't enable them, to make a lasting, sustainable lifestyle change that leads them and their children into a much healthier life. We are working, as you are, to build a culture of life, and our role model is the Holy Spirit, the ultimate paraclete, which in the Greek means advocate, counselor, or helper. Someone who comes alongside to help. Pro-Love Ministries has several major ongoing projects, and the one that receives the majority of our team's focus and resources is Loveline. Loveline is a text line that is available nationwide to women that find themselves in a complex situation, including an unplanned pregnancy, and they come through to us, 95% of them, through a text message. We have a lean staff and a wonderful volunteer team. And first we look for local resources in their area, and if we can't find one that will give her a yes, we become the resource through individualized, comprehensive case management for her complex needs, for the whole woman, the whole situation. Our proprietary Loveline case management model includes services like financial coaching, resume services, counseling by licensed on-staff counselors, and crisis support for women dealing with domestic violence situations, addiction recovery, CPS cases, and human trafficking. Loveline is different than pregnancy resource centers, as shown here. And while that has served a purpose, now we are training pregnancy resource centers nationwide in our Loveline case management model to equip them to expand into more wraparound services for the women in their local communities. While financial assistance can help react to a current single crisis, it is this type of case management model that leads them into a behavioral change with a mindset shift, and that will move her into proactively leaving a pattern of perpetual crisis. Through Loveline's launch and growth, we have learned much, a lot by trial and error, and we really want to take our knowledge and share that with other organizations, including PRCs, so that more women can be assisted each day across our country. This is critical, not just for our own objectives and the stewardship of our own resources, but also because it's part of what we hope is a larger strategy across the pro-life movement, building and increasing communication and collaboration between organizations, with redundancy that only exists intentionally. The body of Christ is going to act like the body of Christ, and we know that the Lord goes before us, goes behind us, and walks alongside us. And with that promise, steadfast in our spirit, that is how we serve the women that come to us. We empower them by coming alongside them to help. We walk with them, we influence a mindset change, we infuse strength and hope into them, because love is an action. Our Loveline process is a balance of truth and love. We have ethical standards that the client must agree to. We have expectations that are laid out clearly, and we tell our staff to never work harder than the client is willing to work. We remind our case managers often that we don't chase, we don't coerce, all of the decisions are hers. We are available virtually to women across the United States, and the demand for our services quickly exceeded our expectations after we launched. So we do not have enough resources today to serve every woman that comes to us, and because of this, we created a scope of care with tiers of service to triage the situations and needs and prioritize who we serve. These were crafted based on our experience over time. We do not discriminate based on faith backgrounds, sexual orientation, immigration status, or any other demographic factor. These are Loveline's tiers of service. Number 1, women who are pregnant and considering abortion. Number 2, women who are pregnant and facing emergency or eviction needs. Number 3, women who are pregnant, not facing an immediate difficult need, and would benefit from ongoing case management. Number 4, women who are not pregnant, and they would face eviction or an emergency need, and have a child under a year of age. Number 5 is anyone else not in one of the above categories, including women with older children and single fathers. As I mentioned, we operate according to a code of ethics, the foundation for all we do at Loveline, the uncompromising plumb line. While we reserve the right to break protocols, we never compromise our ethics. Each client has multiple opportunities to hear, see, and understand our ethics and agrees to abide by them, starting at the beginning of her relationship with us. Our intake script includes reading our ethics. At the end of the client's initial screening and meeting with her case manager, the case manager will once again have the client agree to our ethics. If the client does not agree with them, it does not immediately disqualify her from service. However, it does limit our ability to serve her, and we let her know that. This also provides a good boundary for our volunteer case managers. If a client lies to them and puts them in an uncomfortable situation, with the agreement on ethics in place, it helps avoid surprise when deactivation of case management is the result. Our formula is that Loveline's approach plus attitude leads to high accountability. What is case management? It is a collaborative process that facilitates recommended treatment plans to assure the appropriate care. It provides and coordinates high-quality services effectively and efficiently to individuals with multiple complex needs. But what does that all mean? What does it actually look like? We strive to identify barriers in a client's life and teach, assist, or guide her over those barriers. Every client's case plan is going to be unique to her needs. It's a very individualized service and process. We start out by considering, why is she seeking our help? If relevant, we ask, why is she abortion-minded? What got her to the position of having to reach out for assistance in the first place? Here's a possible scenario. Is it the belief that she can't pay her rent and have a baby? Let's break that barrier down. Will it be a quick fix to get her rent paid? Should she find another place to live where rent is less expensive? Does she need a better job to sustain her housing? Can she move in with a relative for just a season to save her money? Would entering a shelter and gaining access to a rapid rehousing program be a possibility for her? These are just a few of the beginning questions to set the foundation of a solid case plan. We aim to optimize client functionality and well-being, and we focus on what we can do to empower her to believe that she herself can do it. We stop the bleeding. What is her first stated hurdle? And what can she do with our help to overcome? We brainstorm that problem solving with her. We make sure she is using services available to her like TANF, WIC, and SNAP. We don't encourage long-term dependency, but we know that these programs can help temporarily relieve stressors that may be holding her back. When a woman is in crisis, she often has tunnel vision. If she works full-time, has children, and there are multiple demands on her time and finances, the thought of having to do one more thing, the effort required to apply for yet another agency that might tell her no, is very discouraging. We want to give her a yes. Employment and the ability to work is one of our strongest convictions at Loveline. If they are physically able to work, they need to. If she chooses not to seek employment, that will limit our ability to serve her. Does she need a better paying job? We help refresh her resume and set her up on a path to long-term success. We also have financial coaching, counseling, and crisis support resources. And if her needs specify, we either become that resource or we identify and vet local resources for her. But we always ask, are those local agencies life-affirming? Do they line up with our ethical practices? Seeking assistance from local churches is often a very good place to begin. Case management through Loveline is much more detailed and complex than this, but hopefully this gives you an overview of our approach in working with women to, yes, get them through their current situation, but also to empower them to no longer just survive, but to thrive. Related to Loveline is Mama Scholar, a collaboration between Embrace Grace and Loveline to provide single women, moms, with scholarship opportunities for those resilient women who choose to pursue further education. Applicants must have either completed the Embrace Grace program or be a Loveline client. We award scholarships annually for spring, summer, and fall semesters. We do not limit the type of education she's pursuing or the course of study, and the scholarship goes toward tuition, fees, and books. And thanks to many of you for stopping by to hear about our newest project. This is All My Options. It's a collaboration with our sister organization, And Then There Were None, and our friends at Sidewalk Advocates for Life. All My Options is a website landing page, and it's focused on anyone that is near or entering an abortion facility. This landing page is accessed through this QR code held up on signs or out on cards outside the facilities, which direct clients, human trafficking survivors, abortion workers, and passersby to national outreach services. For women entering the facilities for abortions, the resource is Loveline. For human trafficking survivors, the resource is Safe House Project. For abortion workers, the resource is our sister organization, And Then There Were None. For those wanting holistic women's health care, the resource is femhealth.org. For those wanting to help, the resource is Sidewalk Advocates for Life. And for those seeking gender care, the resource is transregret.com. We have information on All My Options at both the Pro-Love Ministries and the Sidewalk Advocates for Life booths, and this is the QR code to access that as well. One of my favorite authors, Madeleine L'Engle, in her book, The Rock That Is Higher, has a whole chapter about story as affirmation of God's love. This part resonated in my spirit. In Paul's letter to the people of Ephesus, he asks us to walk in love just as Christ loved us. What is it about loving that we find so hard, so that Scripture has to remind us to love over and over again? In his letter to the people of Colossae, Paul tells us that our hearts should be knit together in love, and that it is love that helps us attain the full riches of complete understanding, in order that they may know the mystery of God, namely Christ, in whom are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. We love through words and actions. Pro-Love Ministries and all of you know that Christ is the source of true wisdom and true knowledge. We walk in love as Christ loved us. We show and speak and live his love, and that draws people to him, the Great Commission, the heart of our work. Be reminded and be encouraged, and let's go out and love people. Love in action. Thank you for your time today.
Well, hello. Woo! Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, I love it when people talk to me. Makes me feel less alone up here. Awesome. So my name is Kate Maloney, and I am the Campaign for Abortion-Free Cities manager here at Students for Life of America. And today I have the pleasure of talking with you all about how the pro-life generation, through our Standing With You initiative, which works both on our campuses and in our communities, is ensuring that no woman stands alone and that all children are protected from the violence of abortion as we continue to fight for an abortion-free future. So, a little bit about Standing With You. Our mission with Standing With You is to equip you, the pro-life generation, to create and uphold an environment of support, resources, and empowerment so that women can confidently choose life and continue to pursue their dreams. Now, Standing With You is new. This is our we rebranded, but the culture of Standing With You has been a part of Students for Life for about 10 years. It originated as Pregnant on Campus. And so when I was a regional coordinator, I used to have my student groups sign the Pregnant and Parenting Pledge, which basically said, we are a support here for any young woman, both attending the campus or a faculty member who finds themselves in an unplanned pregnancy. We are a support and we will be there for them. And so they would sign this pledge, and we would have this really cute website that would point like, hey, this campus is pregnant and parenting friendly. There's a resource here. And we were having a lot of success with that. And we're like, okay, what if we grow this? What if we push this past the campus model and into our churches? What if we revolutionize our database? And what if we start working in our communities? So in 2021, the initiative shifted into Standing With You, and again, include the work not only on our campuses, but in our communities and our churches as well. So I'm going to run you through the 4 C's. We're going to start with our online database. We're going to go into our communities, then back onto our campuses, and then into our churches and see how, where can I fit in with the Standing With You model. So firstly, our online directory. If you type in standingwithyou.org, you'll be taken to this beautiful landing page. And right there, you can kind of see that mini box. It's really far away, but you can see that mini box, and what you do is you will type in your zip code, and all the resources that are nearest to you will populate. And so really when we were thinking about how we're going to design this website, we're thinking of a woman who's in crisis, and she needs the quickest thing. And so she types in her zip code, she sees what resources, what centers are closest to her, and then we've organized them by 10 categories and 42 subcategories. So we list out, do you need an ultrasound? Do you need a pregnancy test? Do you need free STI, STD testing? Lactation consulting? Do you need housing, financial assistance? What's her need? Because she's right in the red, right? And we want to be able to serve her. We also have a 24/7 monitored chat and call line. And then of course we have 4,000 resources that are vetted and then helpful articles for support. So that is our online database. The next thing we're going to talk about is how Standing With You operates in the communities. And I'm really excited about this one because it's a little bit different than all the other spheres of influence. So Standing With You it plays into a bigger strategy called the Campaign for Abortion-Free Cities. So I don't know if anyone else was in the breakout room with how we're going to make our communities abortion-free, but The Campaign for Abortion-Free Cities is a newer initiative that partners with Standing With You. And basically what the Campaign for Abortion-Free Cities does is we strategically work in our communities to reduce abortion by making abortion unavailable and unthinkable. And we do that by working with leaders like yourselves on the ground to create a strategic blueprint plan to eradicate abortion through cultivating awareness of the local pregnancy help center, breaking community trust with the abortion industry, effectively educating our neighbors to help them understand and resonate more with the pro-life message, and of course, public policy enshrining life in law. So Standing With You is right there at the first critical battle, the foundation battle. And I want to share how that works. So Standing With You really shines in our door-to-door ministry. When we first were thinking, okay, what are we going to focus on in a post-Roe America? Because we always knew we were going to be in a post-Roe America, that we were going to see Roe fall. And yes, we want to make abortion unavailable and unthinkable. But how can we show our community that if we don't show them how unnecessary abortion is, right? We need to show them how replaceable this industry is. And we want them to know the aid and the care and the support that is right there for them. And so when we launched our campaign initially, we launched in 20 cities, because we don't do anything small here at Students for Life, go big or go home. And what we found was that 73% of our neighbors were unaware of the local pregnancy help center. They didn't even know that it existed. That's a huge disparity. So of course, you know the abortion industry. You know they're gonna go in there and they're gonna try to be that first aid, right? And so we thought to ourselves, okay, can we shift this number? Can we at least, in a handful of our cities, increase awareness of the local pregnancy help center by 10%? So in Cincinnati, Ohio, we were able to increase awareness of the local pregnancy help center by 25%. In Phoenix, oh yes, it's huge, right? In Phoenix, Arizona, we were able to do it by 17%. And then in St. Paul, Minnesota, we were able to do it by 9%. So we were able to help point people in the better direction. We were able to create competition with the abortion industry in those cities. Can you imagine if everyone at this conference were to start a campaign and were to go into their communities and look at their neighbors and be like, hey, here's where the local life-affirming, non-violent pregnancy help center is. This is where you can get confidential, free, quality care. You are not a part of a business model when you're going to a pregnancy help center. They are serving you with opportunity. So it's really exciting, the work that we got to do. So that's where Standing With You shines in our communities, is through our partnership with the Campaign for Abortion-Free Cities at the door. And another thing that we get to do, so this is a part of the door-to-door ministry. This is our Summer of Service, which was a really fun event that we did this past summer. A handful of our campaign cities went out and we partnered with our local pregnancy help centers on the ground and asked, hey, do you have any leftover things, any diapers, wipes, bottles, just anything that you know our center's not going to utilize this right now? And they were able to give us lots of stuff, and we went into underserved communities with a wagon, which is why you can see all the wagons, and we literally went door to door and hey, do you need items? Do you need diapers? And we were able to serve so many families. I participated in our campaign city in Rochester, and we gave away 678 diapers. It was amazing. It was amazing. And people were like, where did you come from? Where do we go? How do I, who are you? And we were able to point them to the Pregnancy Help Center. We're like, hey, yeah, just go down the road to Caring Choices. It's 5 minutes from you. And they can pour into you. There's classes that you can take. There's services that are available to you. It was wonderful. We actually ran into, I think we ran into 2 pregnant women and 1 woman who actually just had a baby, and she needed newborn diapers. And we were able to provide that for her that day. So that's what it looks like of having Standing With You in your community. So I love to share about our Summer of Service because it's so much fun. And you can all participate this summer if you'd like to. The next thing is campus support. where we originated, our OG days. But we still do incredible work with Standing With You on our campuses. So a big thing that we love to do is we love to educate our students and our academic peers on Title IX rights to make sure that, women know that they cannot be, having a pregnancy cannot be held against them when they're pursuing their academic goals. Campus policy changes are really important to us. We want to destigmatize pregnancy at the high school and college level. In fact, there's a young girl currently who was pregnant, had her child, and she was at our campus, and there were no diaper decks in the bathroom. And she was like, I'm going to change this, because I'm bringing my child to school, and I'm going to change their diaper in this bathroom. So working on diaper decks, pregnant and parenting parking spaces, all things to make education and, being a pregnant and parenting parent possible. And of course, Title IX pregnancy rights and educations and student-parent support, peer-to-peer support. It is so good that you're here. And it's so good to be on your campus, because there have been many stories where a young woman, whether she had already had an abortion or she finds herself currently pregnant, they find such support from our Students for Life groups, who are able to extend a hand, able to just sit with them, able to listen to them, able to throw them a baby shower. We've had many instances of this, and it's always such a privilege and always such a joy. So never doubt your presence on campus. Always be visible, always be available, because you never know, you could save a life on your campus. And then lastly, church support. I love what we do with our churches. So who here knew that 4 in 10 women in the same month that they will attend a church service will also schedule an abortion appointment? Right? Only a few, yeah. So we know that abortion isn't just something that happens outside the church. It happens within the church as well. So we need to make sure that our churches are places where a woman knows, I can go here for help. I can come here and I can be supported. I can be seen. I can be heard. And so what we do is we have these amazing church kits that we can provide, that we can send you. They're on our Students for Life shop. They've got tons of flyers and event ideas. You can work with our incredible regional coordinators on the ground. When I was a regional coordinator, I would always go to my local churches and help them talk about the issue of abortion, especially with our youth, but with the congregation at large too, kind of breaking that fourth wall and making sure that we really are being the hands and feet of Jesus Christ, in our communities, both outside the church, but within the church especially as well. And so we offer training and support. We have a sample sermon series that if you're a pastor, you can watch, you can be inspired by. And then something else that we do annually is Standing With Her Sunday. So it usually happens towards the end of August. It's this live telecast that you can sign up to watch, and you can either kind of host it publicly with your church, you can have private viewings, but the idea is that it shows us what the church is doing today to help women in a post-Roe America and what there is yet to do and how you can get involved. So if you haven't heard of it yet, Standing With Her Sunday, and come to the Standing With Her booth, because we can get you connected if you're really interested in that. And here's just talking more about how you can advocate for Standing With You at your church. Go to standingwithyou.org/advocate. It's awesome. And kind of, just in closing, we're absorbing a lot of information. There's a lot that you can do. It's kind of overwhelming. You're like, oh my gosh, I want to get involved, but where do I start? Start with us, no. But, I think we live in a really exciting time. We're also living in a time of really great evil, right? And I think in a way, as frustrating as it is, it's also really empowering. So who here, I'm a little nerd, but who here knows the Lord of the Rings? Oh my gosh! Every hand flies up. Amazing. Okay, if you don't, amazing, I love this. So we all know, and if we don't, we'll watch it, but we all know that scene when Gandalf and Frodo are talking, and Frodo is talking about living in a time of such great evil and having to deal with this evil and being like, man, I wish I didn't have to deal with this. I don't want this responsibility. I'm scared. And Gandalf says to him, all you have to do is decide what to do with the time that is given to you. You are all here in that moment, and you have to decide what to do with the time that is given to you. You are at this conference, you are in DC, you went to the March for Life, you're here at this breakout session because you care and you're answering a call, because you do want to participate, you do want to decide, and I want you to decide. I want you to say yes. I challenge you all, when you go home, you take one step forward in a talk that you learned here today, whether it's in your church, in your community, on your campus. You all have something valuable to do, and you all need to do that. When I talked about that 73% statistic, we can reverse it. We saw that we could cultivate further awareness, and that is because everyone said yes. Someone said yes. They decided to do something with their time and to get out there and to go to that neighbor. We have to make this personal. We have to champion our towns. We have to champion our campuses, our communities. We have to take them back. So I just encourage you all, continue your hard work. And when you get back next week, when you go back to normal and life resumes, I don't want you to forget that all you have to do is decide what to do with the time that's given to you. And I hope you decide wisely, and I hope you bravely say yes. Yes, I will put myself out there. Yes, I will do it in fear, because we need your yes, because it's how we're going to have an abortion-free future. Thank you.